Hello there, everybody. I'm sorry I'm late. I see there's already a bunch of you here. Um, well, I'll tell you why I'm late. What's going on here? We just had a staff meeting, and we have we run here in 10-week sessions with clients, and when we're closed, we're usually working on large projects. We went from 5 guest beds to 42 over the last 7 years we've been here now. And all of that has to happen while we're closed. While we're open, and we try to minimize noise and disruption, et cetera. And so these kinds of projects we only do while we are closed. And that usually keeps us busy. The women on staff, mostly housekeepers, there's usually 7 or 8 of them when we're open, not all of them full-time. But the full-time women, we really don't need them to work full-time, but they're full-time employees. And so we continue paying them, and they continue coming in, and we're often looking for things for them to do. We've had them paint some of the buildings in the past, paint the walls. We inventory things, we wash everything, we wash all of our living room furniture, for instance, has cushions rather than upholstery that's nailed to the frame, which is how it usually happens. So we can wash everything here. And so, they're doing all that, but still, there's usually more people working than work to get done. And so, unfortunately, I've just let them know that we're going to have to cut their schedules back by 2 days, from 6 days to 4, but we're going to pay them for 5 days. What we're trying to do is to take the best care of them possible while continuing to pay the bills. And I talked about this last week. I focused on the coronavirus and what's going on, shared with you some of my beliefs about this. The virus is real. Now, whether viruses are contagious or not, there's a very interesting video by a doctor talking about studies after some of the other pandemics. During one of the pandemics, they actually took mucus from the sinus cavities of people who were sick and injected it into healthy human subjects, volunteers, and not one person got sick. So what's going on? Well, there are those who would say that viruses are fragments of DNA excreted by toxic cells. This is part of the cell cleansing. It's going to show up the same because it's based on what's happening. The same doctor goes on to say, and they try this with horses as well, with one of the viruses that was contagious to supposedly contagious to horses. The horses were showing up with. And they did exactly the same thing, and not one single horse got sick. So this has happened. This experiments have been done a couple times in 2 different species, and there's never been any evidence of contagion, which is the hygienic perspective. Natural hygiene says it's not. Again, Beauchamp, I'm probably not pronouncing his name very well, the Frenchman who butted heads with Louis Pasteur. Louis Pasteur said, it's the pathogen. And that's what pasteurization was about. And Beauchamp said, no, it's the terrain. Now, supposedly, someone claims that on his deathbed, Pasteur recanted and agreed that Beauchamp was right. I don't know. But the fact is, the idea is that there's no contagion. Why do people get sick with the same thing then? It's the terrain. It's what's happening. And if you look at Wuhan is the first major city in the world to be completely blanketed by 5G. 5G, which was originally invented as a weapon. It's weaponized technology. The scientists looking at this say that the strength of the signal they'll be broadcasting and the type of signal that it is, it disrupts our cells and the cell's ability to hydrate. And this is why it's a weapon. And that it's 100,000 times more powerful than what is safe to be exposed to. And so Wuhan, not because of the wet market, but because people in Wuhan were all exposed to 5G at fairly significant levels on an ongoing basis for some period of time. No other city in the world has got that coverage at this point, city of this size, 12 million people. Okay, why Italy? Because Italy has the oldest population in Europe. As I mentioned last week, and you may not have all been here, but as of last week, I haven't looked at the recent statistics. As of last week, over 98%, excuse me, over 98%, or right around 98% of the people who had died in Italy were over 60 years of age, and over 89% were 70 years of age or older. Why are older people at greater risk? Because they tend to have comorbidities. They tend to already be sick. I mean, heart disease starts usually by the age of 10 with fatty streaks in the arteries. By the age of 20, people have significant deposits. There are 2 studies in the US that show that the average 9-year-old's arteries, about 5 or 6 years ago when this was conducted, the average 9-year-old's arteries were 30% blocked, occluded with plaque. The average 14-year-old's from a 20-year-old study was 40% blocked with plaque. And the point is that most people, by the time they hit 60 or 70, are quite ill. I had someone comment on last week's live saying, I'll have to paraphrase, you're a dumbass. This is completely irresponsible. This video should be reported and removed. You're going to kill people, and you're going to be on your deathbed in a few months because you're of your age, right? I'm 58. I'll be 59 in just over a month. But I haven't been sick a day in over 30 years. I still, carry 6 or 7% body fat, and my body, in every account, works like the body of someone 30 years younger than me. So I am, as I said last week, not even the tiniest bit concerned about this. And I mean, yesterday afternoon I had to go to the bank, which was closed, but I had to actually make a withdrawal from the ATM machine so it could be deposited today. And I needed to run some errands because I really haven't left this place in about a week, and there were some things we were needing. So I went out to run errands. This is a small town. I mean, we're up in the middle of nowhere. At the bottom of the mountain, there's a town called Ohancha of maybe a couple thousand people, maybe less. I don't even know. I didn't actually do anything. I went to the bigger town because some of the things that my staff had asked me to pick up, I knew would be easier to find there. In fact, impossible to find anywhere. They wanted alcohol in gel form, to kill viruses and bacteria. Couldn't find it anywhere. It went to like 12 places. But Ohancha is very small, so I knew I was going to have. I figured I'd have better luck in the city. Even the city is pretty small, and I probably ran into 10 or 12 people I know in every single case, still kissing on the cheek, still shaking hands. Is that foolish? I don't think so. Okay, I don't think there's anything to worry about if you're healthy. And I'm completely convinced that what's going on here is that this is an attempt by the New World Order. Let me say a little bit more about that. I realize some of you think this is crazy, conspiracy theories, whatever. There's actually documentation, there's video footage, there's documents of people talking about wanting to depopulate and how to control. Just 4 or 5 months ago, there was an exercise run to look at what would happen in the event of a coronavirus pandemic. Oh, that's interesting. Is that a coincidence? Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think there are coincidences. Okay, I think the idea is to purposely destroy the economy. And they're doing a great job because there's a lot of businesses that are going to be in deep trouble if they're not already in deep trouble. We've gone from seeing 3 or 4 registration forms per day to seeing 3 or 4 registration forms over the last week, which means we are now seeing a tiny percentage of what we normally see. All right, so we have a super chat. This is 5 Canadian dollars. Thank you very much, Z-Bubs. If pop takes water from body, why if I drink only pop in the desert or drink nothing, will pop keep me hydrated longer than drinking nothing? Well, I'm not sure that it will. It's an excellent question. I don't actually know what would happen if you were only drinking pop in the desert. It might well be that although it's a diuretic, your body is still able to get some water from it, that you might be getting a little more than you're losing. Okay, it's just not very useful for hydrating you. Even if you're getting something from it, you would get a lot more by drinking water. So, I mean, that's the point of diuretic substances, is that it's not that it doesn't mean you can't get any water from them. It means you're not getting very much because you're losing water even while you might be getting some. Okay, coffee, tea, alcohol, and pop, soda, where I grew up. All these things have the same effect. Okay, the only thing that you really should be drinking is water, is clean water, if you can get your hands on it. Honestly, I'm sorry that if you're stuck someplace you'd rather not be, or a place that's not particularly useful. Hang on just 1 second. Normal, muy bien. Okay, give me just 1 second. ¿Va a bajar más tarde o porque puedo si no va a hacerlo? Hablamos más tarde. Okay, gracias. Okay. Oh yeah, no more good news here. Now they're saying that the banks might be closed all of next week because of this, which is going to make life even more difficult here. I mean, how do we pay our bills? Here I need to actually make deposits to the bank so I can then do bank transfers locally. It's very difficult to transfer all the money in because I'm limited to how much I can transfer. Just to keep our doors open costs $6,000 a week, and we haven't earned $6,000 in the last week. So I'm very keenly aware of the economic impact of this near lockdown in much of the world. I've had I think 3 clients in the last week tell me that their flights for April and May were already canceled. They've been told by the airlines they're not flying, and so they're not coming. So we have to figure out how to handle that. Anyway, that's my take on what's going on. I started to say if you're stuck in some place you'd rather not be, and I know it can be pretty difficult in many places right now. I mean, hopefully you have a comfortable home and have what you need there. I'm sorry you're not here with us because we're in paradise. We're still picking fruit off the trees, fortunately. If we had to, we could probably live on what we grow. We don't currently live exclusively on what we grow because we're still buying mangoes, and we're not harvesting enough papayas right now. So we're buying mangoes and papayas and watermelons and avocados, which are incredibly expensive. We're still buying these things. But if we needed to, we actually could probably live on the oranges. And we have avocados coming soon, probably another month or 2. Our own bananas, lots of them. We have granadas and passion fruit, and we have many other things coming. We have some sapotes now. But anyway, okay. There's another super chat here. Let me see. So again, I apologize. I have to change the screen on my laptop to be able to read this, because otherwise it's just the way it faces. It's very difficult to read. Drum Corner, $20 donation. Thank you very much. What's the best way to store fresh, raw food for winter months for people in colder climates? Is canning or freezing them a healthy option? Unfortunately, neither one of them is really a very good option. Now, if you're in colder climates and you have far more produce available in the summertime, I mean, what I would do if it were me, I would probably eat almost exclusively from my garden, even if it meant eating a lot more of one thing than I normally would, or I would cooperate with friends, family, neighbors, maybe even set up a network of other people. A person who has a peach tree is probably never going to be able to eat all the peaches it produces over the course of the month or two that it's producing. And so, you can probably create a network with other people. And then I would share and I would eat exclusively homegrown, fresh food locally, which means almost no cost. The highest quality food possible because it's all as fresh as it could be. And then in the winter months, I would buy imported food, assuming, of course, that there's still food that's coming in. Now, I believe, because we know from experience what tends to happen with a viral pandemic, and especially where they're successfully isolating people. Because again, as you've probably all heard the terminology, but by having people self-isolate as much as possible, that slows down the rate of people getting sick. And so, and this seems to work. I can't explain exactly the mechanics of what's going on, but it seems to work. And so it means that there's far fewer sick people to deal with right now. Eventually what happens is everybody gets exposed to it. There's almost, unless you keep yourself isolated forever, there's probably no way to avoid this. And so, if I'm wrong, if there's any contagion whatsoever, again, 2 studies have shown 0 contagion, but if there is contagion, then this should eliminate it, slow it down enough to the point that it's no longer a big deal. And once everyone's been exposed, there is no reason to keep people on lockdown. There's no reason, for the self-isolation. There's no reason to have quarantines. I think they're saying that it can be up to a month incubation. And so 4 weeks should be the maximum time necessary for anyone in particular. And of course, once you've been exposed to it, you don't have to worry about that particular strain again. Now, what happens is viruses are always changing. Some very interesting things that many people have never thought about. Coronaviruses have always been around, and they'll always be around. They're normally not looking for them. It's entirely possible they're finding so many of them now because they're looking for them. But maybe they were always there in the same numbers. I mean, remember, in nearly 3 months now, there's a total of 8,000 plus deaths. 8,000. In a normal winter season, there are some 200,000 people who die of the influenza. And it's now been normally 3 months, normally almost a whole season, a whole winter season. And yet there's only been 8,000 plus deaths. Viruses, 229 Alfredo, thank you. Viruses as waste product of toxic cells, accurate. Well, I don't know. I mean, again, this is what natural hygiene has always taught and what I believe to be so. And the 2 experiments I mentioned earlier, where they showed 0 contagion from sick people to healthy people, seems to show that as being the case, that this may very well be the explanation for why this is so. I do believe that it's not about contagion. Again, think about, let's not talk about coronavirus. Let's talk about any virus. Let's talk about the viruses that cause colds and flus. Okay, so what happens in a normal flu season is someone comes in with a flu, and maybe they didn't even realize it yet, but they come in sick with a flu, with this virus, to an office or to a school. What happens? Does everyone get sick? No, not everyone gets sick. Only a few people do. Okay, if it were the bug itself, if it were the pathogen, then everyone should get sick because everyone's been exposed to it. Okay, but that's not what happens. So there's something else going on here. Okay, we have 2 more super chats. We have JJ, are you with an $18 Canadian donation? Thank you. I love Rona, gave me time to short water fast, but on the 3rd day, one of my extracted 4 wisdom teeth, extracted 6 years ago, has started to grow back. Someone says this should be impossible. Yeah, it's not impossible. It does happen. I'm 23, by the way. It does happen sometimes. It's not unknown for this to happen. There are people who have grown back third sets of teeth. In fact, and some of you already know this, but my own teeth, various cavities filled in, the fillings, mercury, silver, amalgam fillings, mercury amalgam fillings disappeared over the course of 10 or 11 years between dentist visits, because I don't go to dentists and have no cavities. My teeth are virtually perfect. They may not be as pretty as they could be, probably not as white as possible, but there's no cavities, there's no problems. And I had a bunch of cavities, and the fillings were gone, and the teeth had filled themselves back in. So, it is possible for these kinds of things to happen. There's another super chat here. This is Itak Yumsel. So Yumsil. Itak says, thank you very much. It's a €10 donation. Hi, Loren. Would the coronavirus deaths decrease if those who end up in intensive care immediately stop eating and start sipping water? Or is that maybe too late? No, I believe it's exactly what would happen. I believe that if they treated these deaths, I think this is true virtually across the board in all kinds of situations. But yes, the question is, could you fast people who are severely ill and see improvement? Absolutely. Yes, no question about it. There's no better, more efficient, or more effective way for the body to heal itself. And that's exactly what I would do. If I were you, if you are watching this, listening to this, and you develop any symptoms of any sickness, whether it's coronavirus or it's a regular flu or it's a cold or it's anything else, the very first thing I do is I cancel any cancelable appointments, and I lay down and I sip water. Okay, that's it. And I'll mention something that occurred to me. And again, we're gonna have to figure out here. I appreciate all of you, by the way, making donations, because we're kind of in a tough position, like a lot of businesses are. And I'm going to continue to put out content, maybe more content, because I've got a little more time on my hands now. Right now, I was originally going to be traveling right now at an event in California that started today. Needless to say, that was canceled. A private event. There's everything's upside down right now, and so I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. By the way, I narrowly avoided not being allowed back into Costa Rica. I'm still here on a tourist visa after 8.5 years, and have to leave the country every 90 days. I'm working on getting residency, but don't have it yet. And my visa expired on Sunday, and so on Monday afternoon, I drove to Nicaragua. It's only a few hours, and crossed the border, no problem. Left my car double parked in front of the Costa Rica immigration office. It's about 2 blocks from one to the other, maybe 200 meters. And I checked out of Costa Rica, left my car, walked the 200 meters to the Nicaraguan building, went through their processes of both entering and exiting 10 minutes later, and came back to Costa Rica. And the woman said, your passport's damaged, you can't come into the country. And I knew that at midnight on Wednesday, they were closing the borders. And in the meantime, my car's parked illegally. I don't have a permit to bring it into Nicaragua. I've got a new passport ready on Sunday, and I have no way to retrieve it now if I can't get back into the country. And I'm thinking, I'm kind of screwed. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Anyway, I was able to get back in after all. Well, I have another super chat here. This is Randy Archer. Randy says, by the way, Randy has made a $5 donation. Thank you, Randy. Hey, Loren, my dad weighs over 200 kilograms and needs to fast, but is on many medications, some he can't stop taking. Is there a way around this? Thanks. No, not really. First of all, let me clarify. When you say he's on, by the way, if you're enjoying this, if you think this is useful, let me make 2 requests of you. 1, give it a thumbs up. 2, if you haven't already, I see some of you have. If you haven't, please do that. And 2, please consider sharing this on your page, on your Facebook page, on your YouTube channel. You can share the link anywhere you want to. You can email it to people that you think would benefit from seeing this. That's up to you. So let me come back to Randy's question. when someone says they're on many medications that they can't stop taking, first of all, if you're talking about thyroid hormones or insulin, these are hormones. Unfortunately, they're more than hormones. They are medications that have been created, but primarily the main ingredient is a hormone that your body needs and can't manufacture. And so, well, thank you very much. Guzelle, who does my videos, just told me that I missed a $20 donation from Drum Corner. So Drum Corner, I'm going to go back and see if I can find that. And if you had a question, I'll come back and answer that as soon as I'm done here. Thank you, Guzelle, very much. She's awesome. Doesn't ever want to be on camera, so she came in my back door and handed me this piece of paper. Whereas, Yaudier, my foreman here, came in the front and he doesn't care. Anyway, if someone's taking hormones, I see another, looks like another $20 super chat. Maybe it's the same one. But if someone is taking hormones, they can keep taking those. Feel free to email me, Randy, Loren at tanglewoodwellnesscenter.com with more details. So we don't need to get into it here. But if it's hormones, you can keep taking those. Okay. If he's taking drugs, now many people say, well, I have to keep taking hypertensive medication. No, you don't. And they're toxic and harmful to you. And we have 100% success eliminating hypertension and having people simply stop taking those drugs and then eliminating hypertension. Now, there are other drugs that one has to wean off of. Okay, so I can't give you medical advice. I'm not giving you medical advice here, but I'm telling you that people who take hormones, they keep taking them, usually in reduced doses. And again, we can talk about that. Someone who is taking almost any other kind of medication needs to get off of it, but virtually always can. Okay, there's almost always a way. Feel free to email me. I'll be glad to help you. Okay, I hope that helps. Okay, let me see if I can find Drum Corner's donation. Let me see here. Let me scroll back up. There we go. Do you know what the pros and cons for canned and frozen fresh raw foods? I'm trying to prepare food storage, but keep the food as healthy as possible. Okay, well, I mean, the issue is, first of all, canning involves cooking food. So there's no such thing as fresh canned food. Now, there is an option. I'm not a huge fan of fermented foods, but you can ferment things like cabbage and other things. You can make various fermented foods, and those aren't cooked. I mean, they don't have to be. They can be. You can buy cooked sauerkraut, but you can make fresh, raw sauerkraut, and it's basically just cutting up cabbage, putting some salt in it. And one of the problems is it usually has salt, and usually a fair amount of it. That actually helps enzymatically. It helps things get going with the reactions. But you put it in a like a big crock or a glass jar. You put some weight on it because you want to eliminate the oxygen. It's an anaerobic process. So if oxygen's there, it doesn't happen. And you press it down to keep the oxygen from inside the mixture. And then you wait. And it's I think a week or two. It's been a long time since I've done this. I don't really believe that we need to eat these things, and my body prefers not to. So I don't have much experience, but this is a way you can store raw food, over time, without cooking it. Now, freezing it is different. Freezing it's not cooking, but when you freeze food, what happens is, and the higher the water content of the food, the more of an issue it is. So, with most fresh fruit, for instance, you've probably had the experience of taking a bag of frozen strawberries, maybe out of the freezer because the power went out. Or you let them thaw out somehow, and what happens is it's all mush, and that's because fruit's high in water content. So when you freeze it, the water in the cells bursts the cell membranes, and now everything's exposed to oxygen, and so you wind up losing nutrients. And frozen foods are far less valuable than fresh foods. So I understand your concern. Now, another thing you can do is you can dry foods, and if they're dried properly and kept dry, then they can last for quite a while. But again, dried foods dehydrate your body. So the very best alternative is to eat whole, fresh, ripe, foods, juicy, organic foods, high water content foods. There's nothing better than that. And this is why, at great personal cost and expense in terms of distance from family and friends, I've chosen to live in Costa Rica. I mean, it's not so tough. It's paradise. I'm in shorts and flip-flops every single day of the year. I can body surf every day if I choose to. I mean, the beach is a little bit far. It's an hour away. But, there's a warm ocean 12 months of the year. And I can, most importantly, and germane to the conversation, I can pick fruit from our trees 12 months of the year. So, I can show you right now. Actually, you can't easily see much. But if you look over here, behind the pink flowers there, that's ginger. And hiding there in that branch that's coming down, it's coming down because of the weight of it, there is a large guanabana. We've harvested 2 in the last week. That's the last large one we have left on this particular tree. We have a bunch of small ones forming. If you look at the tree there in the background, the 2 trees over the wall, those are avocado trees, and they're loaded with avocados. The problem is they're still a month away. Over here, you can just see some mulberries peeking over, and straight ahead, you might be able to see some banana leaves from some of the 16 varieties of bananas we have on site. Over there on the other side, there's a tree right here. There's actually 2 small trees here. On the other side of the wall is a giant starfruit shrub, like a small tree shrub, and loaded with fruit, and plenty more coming. And so, the benefit of living here is fresh food all the time. I realize that, you may have jobs and families and obligations that make moving right now not so easy to do. However, I would say long term, you can live wherever you choose to. And so, you might want to consider, I mean, if you're in the US, for instance, you could live in South Florida. If you go down south of Miami to Homestead, you can actually grow some tropical fruits. It's warm. There's a microclimate there, so you can grow things that you couldn't grow anywhere else. That's one way to go about it. Now, it looks like I've got a couple more super chats here, so let me scroll down and see what, if anything, I've missed. Here's one. I think I missed another one. I'll come back to it. We still have time. But I have a $10 donation from Chasina Malka, who says, I'm here in Alabama, U.S., and all I can get is frozen fruits due to the coronavirus pandemic, and all of our rural farmers markets are closed. I'm 100% fruitarian. Any suggestions? Wow, I'm really sorry to hear that. People have been asking me what to do if that should happen. Frankly, I didn't think that was really going to happen. I mean, I guess if they're closing the farmers markets to keep people apart, but aren't the local like grocery stores and organic markets, they don't have any fresh food? I mean, if you can't, farmers markets are the best way normally. But if you can't go to farmers markets because they're closed, I'd be looking for any retailer that sells produce, and I'd be buying fresh food. As I was just saying, frozen food is far inferior to fresh food. And so you can eat some frozen food and you can use it as a supplement if you need to. But, as far as I know, someone here, I just popped up here, Jamie says grocery stores are open. I mean, I think that's true in most places. Maybe there are limited hours in some places. Maybe they're limiting how many people can come in, et cetera, et cetera. I think some of them are setting aside certain hours for the elderly so that they're not there with other people. But, it may not be the highest quality produce, but it's still probably going to be better than buying something that's frozen, than eating exclusively frozen. So that would be my first choice. Okay, there was a $20 Canadian dollar donation by John Simpson. John, thank you very much. That's, I guess, the one I missed. I hope I haven't missed any more. If I've missed yours, please post here on the bottom, and I'll keep an eye on what's coming up. As you can see, I haven't answered any questions today because I've been talking and simply responding to the super chats as they've come in since then. But John made a donation without asking a question. So if you've made a donation and I've missed it somehow, and that happens sometimes, please let me know. Bakul Dada also made a $2 pound donation. Thank you very much, Bakul. I appreciate that. By the way, let me point out that some people might think, well, £2, $2. I mean, for all I know, £2 might be quite a bit to Bakul, and all I can say is I appreciate very much the support, because I've got 17 employees here to support, and that's going to be really helpful, especially in these difficult times. So I appreciate that very much. Wow, Chuck Goins has made a $500 donation. Chuck, I can't thank you enough. That's incredibly generous. I appreciate that. Again, I mean, it could be that Chuck is on the other side. I don't know. I don't know Chuck, and I don't want to make any assumptions, but it's entirely possible that there are some people for whom $500 is really not a big deal. It's a big deal to me, and I mean, obviously it's not necessary to do that. You can be here without making any donation. And Chuck's not asking a question. He's just made a donation. If you're in a position to support my efforts and you think that these efforts are worth supporting, please do. If you're not in a position, it's no problem. I'm here, and I'm going to continue to share everything I can. I am here as a public service, and I hope that my content, I hope you see my content that way. I'm only trying to help. So let me, thank you very, very much. Let me look at these messages and see if I've missed anything. Let me see here. Bill Gates is in the first phase testing of working closely with the pharma healthcare on a system called ID 2020 with mandatory vaccination, digital currency, and social insurances. Yeah, I mean, what they're going to, what's going to happen, I believe what's going on here, right? So why are they doing what, they, right, the New World Order? If this is real, I believe it is. Why are they doing what they're doing? First of all, by destroying the economy, they control the economy. They can take over everything they choose to because they have the assets. Look at the wealth of the royal family in the UK. It's unbelievable. I mean, they own something like 1/3 of the surface of the planet. Some crazy amount along those lines. And so, look at the Rothschilds. Look at the Rockefellers, and I don't begrudge these people. I mean, as long as money is earned in doing something that is beneficial to the planet, there's nothing wrong with wealth. It's not unspiritual to have I believe that as powerful creators, we can create everything we choose to. Okay, so that why not live comfortably and have what you want? Now, I think if you're using, an absurd percentage of the planet's resources, given that you're 1/7 billionth of the planet in terms of human population, that doesn't make sense. I'm not so sure that anyone needs to have seven, castles or, mansions. But certainly there's nothing wrong with having a comfortable home. I think we should be responsible with how we use resources. And of course, our big project here is all about that. What we're going to do is create a place where like-minded people can live in harmony with nature and with each other. And, this is a good time to remind people. I've been talking about living in paradise. Folks, if you don't ever want to be in a position again where you have to depend on the system to supply your needs, hey, come here and help us create something where we're all self-sufficient, where we literally create our own power. We grow all of our own food. We recycle our own waste. We have enough water on site, by the way. Every toilet can have a bidet. If you're not familiar with it, it's a little hose. I mean, in the old days, it was a separate appliance. Now, you can either buy a toilet or actually retrofit a toilet with a hose that sprays your butt. So you don't need toilet paper. Okay, so, there's no toilet paper to be found in many places. Well, what if you didn't need any? Okay, I mean, we can actually create a way of living on the planet that actually works for the planet and for each other, and where you're surrounded by people who all have perfectly functioning immune systems and therefore don't have to worry about anything. Okay, Chuck, by the way, again, very, very generous. Let me, you're not asking for anything, and I really appreciate that. Let me say, I would be very happy to give you an hour of my time. If you'd like, email me, Loren@tanglewoodwellnesscenter.com, and we'll arrange a time to speak, and I'll be happy to answer any questions I can for you or assist you in any way possible. Okay? Okay, Maria Cruz, off sleeping pills. Well, now with sleeping pills, again, I don't, each prescription might be different. I can't give you any advice. I don't know whether you can simply stop taking them or perhaps have to wean off of them. But sleeping pills are toxic crap, and they make your son unconscious without allowing him actual restful sleep. And so these are not things anyone should be taking. I've worked with many people who've come off sleeping pills and have been able to finally start sleeping, getting a real healthy sleep. And that's what you want to do. Okay. Alfredo has made a €349 donation. Thank you, Alfredo. And is asking, what's your take on the future of the planet? Well, I'm not sure exactly how to interpret your question, Alfredo. I think the planet will be fine because the planet has a very different timeline than you and I, right? The average human body is good for about 79 years these days, less in some countries. In developing countries, it's less than that. But if you're in the US or the UK or most of Europe, you can probably expect to live about 79, 80 years. That's a relatively short period of time. Many trees in North America and Europe will live hundreds of years. Many other species, including tortoises and the beautiful macaws that we see here, the biggest members of the parrot family, can live well over 100 years. Most human beings aren't going to accomplish that. The planet will always be fine. The planet will recover. The planet will recuperate. I believe it's entirely possible that we kill ourselves off, because although many people seem to believe that human beings are incredibly intelligent species, I don't agree with that. We're the only species systematically destroying our planet. Okay, the planet we depend on for our survival. We're systematically destroying it, and no other species is dumb enough to do that. Only humans are. Okay, each one of us has the ability to be an example, to set an example, to live in a way that's actually conscious of the issues. It takes me back. It reminds me of the great law of the Iroquois Confederacy. There's a company based, I think, in North America. I'm sure in North America, called Seventh Generation. Some of you here, I know many of you are here from North America, and you may know this company. They make laundry, non-detergent laundry soap, organic, biodegradable stuff. They make cleaning products. I think they might sell some paper products as well. And their name comes from the great law of the Iroquois Confederacy, which said, in every action we take, we should consider the impact on the next 7 generations, the next 7 generations of humans. Imagine if a generation is typically around 20 years. So imagine people did that. People actually considered the impact on the next 7 generations. I think we'd be making very different choices as a race, as a species. Okay, we'd be living differently than we do now. And I think what needs to happen is we need to shift the way we live now. Now, some of you, I'm preaching to the converted. Some of you are already making much better choices. I can tell you that 30 years ago when I lived in the US, I started buying exclusively organic produce, not just because I cared about my own health and body and those of my clients. At once Tanglewood existed, we always served 100% organic produce when we were in the US, but also because I wanted to be sure that I'm not contributing to the pollution of the planet, which is what happens when you're buying products that have been grown with conventional pesticides and fertilizers, chemical fertilizers. Okay, so buying conventional produce is much better for the planet. Some of you may already be aware of this, but virtually all of my clothing is organic fibers. Okay, organic cotton, hemp. I'm wearing hemp shorts right now. There are now various other fibers available, including bamboo and linen and other things, which require no pesticides, can be grown with no pesticides. And now it's not as easy to grow cotton that way, but people do it. And most of my wardrobe is now organic cotton and has been for a long time. Again, not because necessarily wearing commercial fabrics may have a significant impact on my health, but because it has an impact on the health of the planet. Okay, I would encourage each of you to consider strongly how much water you're using, how much power you're using, because these things are drains on the environment. Okay, what are the choices that you're making? What are you driving? What? Look at all of these factors so that each of us can together create the smallest footprint possible. That is, we can live doing the least amount of damage possible, right? Some of you were probably Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. And, as a Boy Scout, I was taught we go into a wild place, a natural place. We leave it. We leave no trace of our being there. As much as possible, we want it to look like we were never there. Okay. That's how we want to leave the planet. Okay. We want to have the smallest amount of impact on the planet. I'm changing my screen here so I can see what, if anything, I'm missing. I apologize, by the way. I'm not greeting everybody today. I'm not taking the time to do that. So I've probably missed several things here. I apologize. Let me just say, I'm glad you're here. I really appreciate that. I hope you're benefiting from this. Again, let me ask you, if you think this is beneficial, give it a thumbs up and share it on your page, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you like. Email the link to people, if you think it might help them. Let's get the word out there about what's going on here. Okay, let's see. So, you know what? I'm probably not going to take the time to scroll through these now. I hope I haven't missed anybody else's super chat. I apologize if I have. Please email me. You can either message me here in case I miss it. Feel free to email me, and I will get with you personally. There's another one that's just come in. M. Anthony has made an $8 donation and says, do any of your long-term fasters ever experience restless legs? I get pretty intense restless legs as I get deeper into the fast because of this. Yes, this happens. Honestly, exactly why it happens, I can't say. I don't really know. But it could well be that your body is simply redistributing minerals. I mean, there are various different possible causes of that. I wouldn't worry about it. It's a temporary thing. Now, again, I can tell you from literally having worked with many thousands of clients, guiding them through fast averaging 26 days, every single person who's done their own fast and fasted with me says, wow, no comparison. This was way more powerful and way more beneficial. So it may, if it feels like it's a challenge, I'm going to offer something right now. Again, I've mentioned before, we're going to be struggling a little bit to pay the bills. So first of all, this is a great time. If it's difficult for you to find a way to get here, and I know for many people it's difficult. Someone commented on a video, I can't believe your price is so expensive. I understand, first of all, depending on where in the world you live, it may seem like our prices are high. Unfortunately, Costa Rica is not an inexpensive place to live. We pay the bills here, but we have 17 employees most of the time. With all of the costs we have, it's about $6,000 a week to be here. And we cover that, but we don't do much more than cover that. I don't take a salary from Tanglewood. I have, if we get shut down, I'm going to be like a lot of other people, and that is stuck because I have no assets personally. There's nothing except what's here. Okay, let's see here. So now I'm not sure, Chuck, your $500 donation keeps showing up at the top of the screen, and I'm guessing it's the same one, but if I'm wrong, I apologize. And I'm guessing that's what's happening. It just for some reason just popped up again. I can't tell. I don't see another new one on here, so I'm guessing that's what it is. Okay, let me see. Is there anything? So the other thing I want to say, again, many of you are now in self-isolation, or actually being locked down. I understand as of Friday, they're saying in California, they're going to be enforcing that people not leave their homes. In many other places, they're already doing this. In Italy, in Spain, in other places, you cannot leave. And so this is a perfect time to fast, okay? And, if you were thinking, oh, it's so expensive to get there, maybe this would be a good time to have me guide you through the process via Skype, okay? Give that some thought. I'm working with groups these days. And so what happens is there's a 1-hour call every day. And my schedule is pretty free for the next 5 weeks. So maybe longer. I mean, I'm guessing we're not probably opening on the 25th of April because I don't think anyone's going to be able to get here. But I see Damian Dempson, that Adam has just made a $10 donation. Thank you so much, Dempson. We were just communicating yesterday, and I appreciate that very much. I really do. So this might be a really good time to consider fasting. If you're stuck home anyway, there's nothing to do and there's nowhere to go, this is a perfect time. And especially if you're concerned about this virus, what do you want to do? You want to boost your immune system, okay? There's nothing more powerful than rebooting your immune system than fasting properly. So maybe you want to consider that. Now, I can't offer discounts on that. It's $500 a week per week for fasting and refeeding time. However, what I am willing to do is to take 50% up front and the balance in monthly installments after you're done, okay? It's a group call. We'll have a maximum of 5 people on the call, and that means I've got time to talk to each person about their vital signs and what's going on. You need to have a blood pressure monitor, a thermometer, and a scale to take your vital signs. You send me those numbers every day. We talk about what's going on for you. And then I've still got 20 to 30 minutes for education every day, Q&A or a little mini lecture, so that I can help inform you so that when you're done, you know exactly what to do so you can be disease-free for the rest of your life, as I've been for the last 30 years. That's what's entirely possible. The other possibility is plan on coming here to fast when you're able to. I realize, I mean, I've heard from 3 people that can't get here now for April, even if we're able to open, even if Costa Rica opens its borders, their flights have been canceled. And it may well be that they're not going to be able to reschedule a way to get here in time. The airlines have already canceled their future flights in some cases. And so, coming here in the near future may not be possible, but this is going to change. We know this is going to change. Viruses have, over time, I mean, however long they last, eventually they're gone. Everyone's been exposed, and then that's it. I mean, whoever's left is either sick or gets well. I mean, remember that the vast majority of people who get this virus are perfectly fine, have minimal symptoms, if any, and the next largest group has very moderate symptoms and heals completely. There's now more people in Wuhan that are completely healed than are currently sick, according to one report. This is going to pass, and it'll probably be that by August 22nd, when we reopen our session after this next one that's planned, you'll be able to get here. Those spaces are booking up. We have a lot of people from the April session now booking for August, but you will be able to get here. Right now, I'm going to extend an offer to save 10% if you pay up front for your coming fast. In fact, you know what? I'll make it better than that. You can take a 20% discount right now if you pay in full this week for a future fast from August or after. And if you can't pay in full and you pay 10%, you pay the normal deposit, which is $900, you can still save 10%. Okay? But let me see if I've missed anything else here. I don't think so. Because I'm running out of time here. I have another appointment I need to get to. I'm not sure if I've missed anything else. Again, I apologize. I've been able to read almost none of your comments today. I'm not sure I'll ever get a chance to get back to them. So I apologize for that, but sometimes that's what happens when we're busy enough here. I hope this has been useful, enlightening, enjoyable, maybe entertaining at times. I don't know. I don't know if I was very entertaining today, but I hope so. And I hope that you have a fantastic week. I hope you can stay calm. Okay. You know, if you need to, meditate every day. I know there are people out there who are freaking out and who are just completely overcome with fear of this virus. This virus is nothing to worry about. If you take care of yourself, you're going to be fine. Okay, you're going to be fine. And if you're not already taking care of yourself, this would be a good time to start. If you're interested in taking me up on one of the offers, either to fast with me via Skype now while you're home anyway, or coming here in the future, then email me, Loren at tanglewoodwellnesscenter.com. Okay, if you can't find it or don't remember it or don't get it right, you can go to the tanglewoodwellnesscenter.com website and you can contact us from there. You'll see the Contact Us tab. Contact us from there. I'll look forward to hearing from you. I hope you all have a fantastic week. I hope you can find a way to relax, to enjoy this time. You know, I think it's amazing some of the things that are coming that can come out of this time. This is a chance to actually, spend some time in meditation and contemplation, maybe get clear about who you are and what's really important to you. Okay, don't waste this time. Okay, there's a way to benefit from every single situation. There's something positive that can come from no matter what shows up, and this is not an exception. So I hope you make this time as valuable as possible. If I can help you in any way, let me know. I'll look forward to hearing from you. I'll be back next week at 9 o'clock Costa Rica time, and I'll look forward to seeing you then. Bye-bye.